Grayskull.
Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, what's up everyone today? It's Man-Child. Alright, so today for review, going to take a look at the Masterverse Origins Turtles of Grayskull Mutated MER-MAN figure, which is a Walmart exclusive. So, yeah, start checking your Walmart locations now. Maybe you'll find them, maybe you won't. You know, it's one of those things that are limited, but as time goes by, like Moss Man and those kind of figures, they start showing up. Anyway, yeah, another cool Turtles of Grayskull box set figure that a lot of attention and detail went into. You know, just a new head sculpt, armor, colors. They even gave him the a new tail, or it's a lady slither tail, it looks like, but then like a fish tail on the end of that, and he gets a pair of legs, so you can set him up as both, you know, the or more iconic Merman that we're all familiar with, take outside the mutation part, or a Serpent type of Merman, which we never really, you know, seen before. I think it's pretty neat. So of course he comes in a standard, you know, box style that a lot of Turtles Grayskull figures come with. You have the rocks off to the side, ooze, pipes, and stuff like that. You get the Master Universe and the Turtles Grayskull cross sticker as well on the front. And then with the very top of the box, once again, you get the Turtles of Grayskull logo exploding outwards. Just, yeah, says Merman, a mutated, mindless Leviathan. Okay, pretty cool. And off the left-hand side, so here you can see the artistic image of Merman in the Serpent form again, which I think is really cool. And of course, his more iconic form with the legs on the right. And now here's a quick look with some really cool art in the back of Merman's packaging. So yeah, check that out. We got Merman in his Serpent form, fighting all the Turtle Brothers. You can see we just got Raphael, Donatello, Leonardo in the background, and Michelangelo. Got some kind of like, I thought this was a spider creature first, you know, or some type of skeleton, some type of spider creature. I don't know if that's what it was, or it's just as maybe a throne for Merman. But you can see you have the power sword stuck in the rocks, or this, yeah, it's vertebrae, whatever it's supposed to be. I was like, what is that? Pretty interesting. Anyway, really cool art as always, and this in itself can make a neat little poster. And here's a little closer look at the new Merman's bio. You want to pause and read that. And then at the very bottom, you get a couple illustrations, and once again, just shows that you can switch his tail out with the legs, so it just says attack from the sea or swap tail for legs for land battles. And then here's some additional art on the right-hand side of the box, looking in from the window of Merman in this Serpent form, as I call it, or with the fishtail on. And now here's a look at the art on the left-hand side of the box, looking from window of Merman in his more traditional form with the legs. So, before we take a look at the new Merman and all his accessories, he comes with this trading or collector card, I want to call it. So once again, you get some cool art on the front of the cover with the Turtles of Grayskull logo exploding. And then if you flip it around, just kind of gives some a little bit of a bio to him. So he had a mutagen master powers. So the Merman side is telepathic control of sea creatures. He controls the ocean waters. He has razor sharp claws and teeth. And then a mutation is devolved into half a Leviathan and drips toxic ooze from tail and algae for brains. And now, taking a closer look at Merman's face and overall head sculpt. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Well, just the details, the sculpt, colors, everything with this figure. I can't, you know, once he's out of box, it's even more incredible. So as far as the articulation with this new head, let's see, look left to right, go down about that far and back, right? That's with the armor on, but look at, unbelievable. Look at the, so you got the mouth sculpted open with teeth sculpted on the lower part of the jaw and top. Yeah, it doesn't articulate. It's just an open mouth, but really cool. Even have some inner details going inside the mouth, like the root of his mouth. And I don't want to say it's a tongue, but yeah, you can see the extra sculpt in there. Look at the eyes, the extra gold armor around each eye, the way they painted the eyes overall, just that deep red. You know, you got the little inner eyeballs there, the retina rather. Really cool. Now you notice too, not only does he have so yeah, he has like the iconic Merman fins for ears, I guess. He kind of, so he has a mix, I want to say something between a vintage Merman, but more to the Lord of Power concept Merman, but yet his own design. It kind of reminds me of, but more the Lord of Power. Seems to be that way. He has a little angler, so that's like the little antenna that anglerfish have, and what's funny is off to the side, I'm going to bring in an anglerfish from like Popo. Yeah, I like to collect some of these things. Check that out. So, going back to Merman, his overall design for this figure, look at some of the inspiration with the open mouth. right? The fins back here kind of reminds me of fins on back of the head, but just that little piece that hangs off and glows on this particular type of fish. So it's funny they sculpted that on this merman. Spinning him around. Look at, wow, even details, armor ridges on the top. Yeah, I like these two. So these are, they don't articulate, but they're pretty soft for the most part. Even back of the head here, you got some extra details. Now you notice that this merman, because he's a mutated version, right? Of course he's translucent. So the first thing I want to do is just put a light to the back of the head, kind of, so you can see all the effects. Yeah, you have a couple different tones going. So the overall casting this figure now is like in a, it's not clear. It's like a bluish green color, to where like the mutated Mossman was all green and He-Man was like a purplish color, which I'll bring them in later for comparisons. But yeah, so you got that going through there, and then you got the purple, the extra armor right on the top there. That's painted purple, blended in with these earpieces and that little anglerfish part. And now moving down to the buck and armor, completely new armor from what I can tell. I think even the shoulder pieces, it's all part of this. But look at that. That's really cool. And of course, we'll try this on a couple Origins Merman figures, which I already have off to the side later with mixing and matching parts, all that good stuff. But look at the detail on that too. I mean, it's just like, so not only is it a whole new sculpt and design, but the goldish casting and the overall, the main front of the armor is gold and the shoulder pads, so it has that tone going there. Then you have this white, like, it's like an open scallop or something, or clamshell. Right, painted. You got a blue gem, some extra painting there, detail. You got all these bones popping out of the armor, or it could be shark's teeth or something. Again, all, yeah, different shaded paint. So this is like a bone color, like teeth or bones would be, or spines. You got this white, you got this blue, you got gold. So you got a few different things going on here. So moving down now, even with the armor on, he can spin on the slower tailpiece, which we'll get to soon. So let's see, taking a look at the shoulder pads. They are part of this armor. They are flexible, so you can move, but they're not going to come off from what I can see. And the left and right sides both the same. All right, so taking a look at the side, and you can see that these bone pieces, they kind of they stagger. Smaller up here, you got larger ones, and then larger all the way up to the shoulders. And it's like exactly the same on both sides. Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around. There's a lot of detail going on with the armored head and stuff. It gets a little confusing. All right, so spinning him around to the back now, we get a little better look at the body, which soon we'll take the armor off, of course, get a take a better look at the body and the translucent effect, of course. But yeah, just the way the rear armor straps go down, and extra sculpting, just, yeah, bone pieces coming out, gold. I like how it blends into the two top white bone pieces. It's all blend. I think this is all, looks like the whole overall cast was gold, and they painted, this stuff is painted, from what it looks like to me. So moving down, and you got two plugs in the back. That can be used for any of the shields that the other turtles and stuff come with. I think I'll try Slacker's shield a little later, because that looks cool. It's a big, snapping turtle shell. So I think that's what I'm going to try later for this. Anyway, again, and you got the waist piece here, extra details as far as bones or spines or whatever you want to consider them or call them, all the way around the armor. Now, all right, so let's leave the armor on for a second. So taking a look at that. So moving on to the arms. Let's do the arms, the articulation, before we remove everything, I think. So yeah, He-Man style, just regular. Are they Andre the Giant? No, looks like they're just regular He-Man skeletal arms from the Origins. So as far as the articulation, up, down, go forward, back, right? Go straighten the elbow out, bend at the elbow, all the way at the elbow. Put the arm all the way to the face. The other arm, let me see what the articulation's all the same. All good stuff, right? Yeah, I like that translucent effect. You have the extra oozing effect going through the body here. With both arms on the bicep and up by the shoulders. Right? And again, when we take the armor off, take a better look at it soon. Yeah, some new wrist bracers. It's pretty cool too on these arms, but they don't come off. They're part of the sculpt, and they're painted over the arms like a deep yellow color, because you can even see some slot where it's chipped, and you can just see how it blends into both arms. Right? From what I see. All right, so they're exactly the same on the left and right side. And then moving down to the hands. So yeah, some new creature hands. I want to say they look like the same hands as the mutated Mossman. These are casted or painted in a dark purple color, and they can spin, right, and go in and out in hinge joint, and the other sides are all the same, but the left side has more of an open, yeah, trigger finger or something like that, or just an open hand, claw hand, where this one's more closed, grabbing different weapons. So that's the only difference I can see between the two. And then real quick, I'm just going to remove one of the hands. So let's remove the right side just to confirm. Once again, it's just a regular Origin style peg, and that, yes, these do not come off. They are, they are all part of the sculpt. The arm just painted. Okay, so putting the hand back on, moving back down to the waist in this new armor belt they give Merman. So let's check this out. We'll go down to the tail and finish up the articulation before we take all the armor off the body and take a look at all that stuff. But look at that too, a whole new sculpted and tooled piece. Amazing, wow. Look at the detail on that. So you have like kind of that iconic fins going out on both sides, like something like the Lord of Power, like the Merman, some of the Merman figures came with, but really detailed. You got this extra fin coming down here. It's, yeah, really soft. Everything's all part of the scope with the belt. Got that little extra jewel piece sculpt and paint in there. Got some gold highlights over this main armor. Now this is cast in like its own unique sea blue color, which is just cool. And that's something that catches my eye with this Merman. Just all the different, not only the translucent effects from what we can see so far on the arms and head, but the overall colors of everything. It's perfect. You have these little tendrils hanging off, sculpted, right? Just kind of swinging in the breeze there. Now, once again, it reminds me, going back to this anglerfish, the little tendril that comes off, or the antenna, right? The little angler antenna with that light that would attract bait. So I guess it's kind of going back to that. It's the idea of these, or seaweed or something. I don't know. I never understood what they were, but that's what it reminds me of. But yeah, really cool design. Now, it doesn't, you can see spinning them back around, it doesn't come apart in the back. It will come off the waist once you break them in half, which we'll do soon. So moving all the way down now. So, of course, this Merman box is set up with the, I'm going to call it the Serpent style, or Serpent tail. So it's a Lady Slither tail, which I can see. I had no doubt they're going to reuse this part, because it was unique for the Origins line, and I think this is also going to come out for Necrochondra. Chondra, the snake guy, coming out soon. So that's cool. It's a neat piece. But so if you're not familiar, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, articulates in 4 directions with this particular figure. So you can spin. So it can spin at the waist with this. You can rotate all around, right? Now, of course, you have this gold plating going all the way down, very similar to the belt, so you can see. And again, it has its own unique blue casting now. It's different from everything. Okay, so we already said we can articulate there, rotate all around. You have the second section that you can also spin the whole tail around, articulate like so. You have the third section that it's a little hard to articulate, but enough to make the tail go back and forth. Can spin all around like a ball joint side there, right? So you can kind of see the back, how it all goes down all the way to the tail. If you're not familiar with this piece on Lady Slither. And then you have this tail piece, which is different. I want to say, is it different from Lady Slither? I think so. Where hers is just a tail, it ends at the end. They give him this fish tail, which makes sense. That's pretty cool too. Really good detail. It's a rubber piece that snaps into this to make up to where Lady Slither had an extra point coming off. From what I remember, I have it in the background. Now does this articulate? It doesn't look like it does. No, it looks like it just plugs in. You don't need it to. But anyway, it's, really cool design. I like the purplish tone, too. Again, blending all different colors, like what they did with the hands and the top of the head and in the tail. Just how they broke it up. But anyway, that's the overall articulation, everything you can see. Just, putting them, you can rest them like this. Moving the belt around. You can spin the tail that way. Let's see. You got to straighten this out. I'm trying to see what's the best way. Okay, so this seems to be a good way to balance them on the tail, so it's facing down. You can like position them left to right, spin him which way you want, and he seems to balance okay. Okay, so jumping back up to the armor, let's start removing it off the body. So once again, I'm going to spin him around towards the back, and to remove this, it looks like, all right, so we can see the little tab. All right, so it's going to break here like so, and it looks like if you wanted to, you could pull it right over the head, but I'm going to remove the head off the ball peg so we can get a better look at that first. And now with that head removed, we can pull the armor off the body. It looks like we have to break them in half like so. And now we can remove this piece of armor and the waist one as well. And now here's a closer look at that main armor off the body. Yeah, that's just a really cool looking piece of armor for Merman, without a doubt. But you see how flexible it is, right? We already went over the details. And you can see how this little plug is going to lock in the back. We already talked about these are going to be for, yeah, one of those turtle shells, which we'll try in a little bit. All right, once again, here's the shoulder guards. You can see how it's all part of the sculpt. And now here's a little closer look at that waist armor that also snapped off the body once I broke them in half. All right, so we already talked about how flexible this is. You can see all the extra details. They're spinning it around, what the inside looks like. And now here's a quick look at Merman, all back together again, obviously without any armor on. So we're going to take a look at that. We want to set him up with the Serpent's tail and the upper body. Didn't want to use the armor, right? So what he looked like. Yeah, I think it would definitely be better for that lower piece because it kind of hides this transition, in my opinion. And now we can just see how he spins at the waist better. We already talked about the arms and stuff, so we can now, of course, get a better look at the body. Yeah, the extra ooze going through, the mutation effect. Right, front and back. You can see, yeah, you can, let me see inside the body. All these, I guess they're internal casting pieces. You kind of see in the body a little bit. It's not terrible. And we already talked about the arm articulation. Now, of course, these can remove for customs real easy. Typical Origins pegs. We know how the head removes. We know that the hands remove. And once again, we know how the waist removes. And now, once again, I left the main armor off the body, but I just put that lower belt armor on, right, with the tail set up. So if you want to use them like that, it is a good piece to hide the main transition of the tail between the bulk and body, in my opinion. All right, so once again, I put the main armor back on Merman. We're going to leave the Serpent's tail and this lower belt guard on at the moment. So I'm going to kind of jump back and forth here. So here's a quick comparison against Slacker and this Merman setup with the tail. Just for the overall, looks, but mainly size. Other reason why I brought him in too is because of that giant snapping turtle shell shield that I think is going to look cool plugged into the back of this Merman. So if you're not familiar, that looks like on the back, right? And you can see the little plug. So let me switch this on this Merman's armor and see what that looks like. And now here's a quick look at that Slacker shell on this Merman. Yeah, that looks cool. I like that setup because it's snapping shell from a snapping turtle, some type of turtle, aquatic, some sort. I like the colors, how it kind of matches. It is on a more of a bluer side, but it has purple in it somewhat. It kind of matches the the tail on this Merman, especially the hands and the overall face. So if you want to use some type of shield on armor, I would definitely go for that one with Slacker if you have them. And then for another quick comparison, I'm just going to bring in one of the Turtle brothers. Of course, Michelangelo, because he's the newest one out. And, turtles are turtles. But I wanted to also try, not only compare these two for size comparison against a turtle, I wanted to try one of the turtle shells, being that all four is the same, on the back of this Merman armor. And now there's a quick look at that setup. So yeah, of course, that adapter in the back on the armor could fit one of the main turtle shells from the brothers. Yeah, that looks weak. I'd rather the Slacker shell if you were going to put anything on him. And now, moving forward with Mutated Merman's weapons and accessories. So for one of his main accessories, of course, he gets his iconic land legs. Or we'll call them sea legs. But yeah, he gets his pair of legs, right, like they showed in the art. Again, cast in a translucent blue color, just like the body. I don't see it. There's no acid effects, don't like that in them. So as far as the upper part, you just have a regular He-Man Skeletor Origin style belt, loincloth, like a deep purple color once again for the loincloth. The belt's gold, which is cool. Now you notice the legs are they look like buzz-off, clawful, whiplash legs, right? Has those bone ridges down each side. Yeah, all the way down to the leg, even the feet as well. Let's call them whiplash or clawful feet. But cast again, translucent effect, color. But then for the main boots now, so you can spin at the boot and they do come off cast in a gold color. They are a little different than, I want to say, like clawful or something. Just the texture on them. They do have, a couple of these like bone ridges, very similar to the legs going down. And so with the articulation with the legs off the body and go all the way out. Do this now. Go forward, back, bend at the knee, spin at the knee. We already said it can spin at the boot, and these can come off. And then again with the foot, buzz off, clawful feet, go up and down, and rock side to side. So of course, I change the tail out with the legs. We're just going to break the tail off the body again. Yeah, this piece can come off. I'm going to leave it on at the moment, and it's easier to maybe push it back over the waist. It's going to fall off, and just snap them together. And now there's a look at Merman with his legs. Yeah, I don't know what's cooler, what I like more. The tail setup, I have a feeling I'm going to leave him like this, just unique looking, or the legs. They just, some with the translucent effects. He had a buzz off, whiplash, clawful feet. The legs, these ankle bracers, I call them boots, but ankle bracers with this belt, the armor on looks really cool. And we are, you know, as far as the articulation, we already went over off the body, but with this belt piece on, let's see, okay, all the way out with a split, kick forward, I guess I got to do it again, go back, bend at the knee, spin at the knee, all the same stuff. So it has pretty good articulation, a little limited because it is side pieces. But yeah, that's so cool. And I love the colors in this. And same thing, I'm bringing the light again. I just want to, yeah, you kind of see everything through the legs, the feet, right? The arms, the body. Well, should do it when the armor's off, but the overall body, head, we already went over. And now here's another look with this lower skirt armor piece off with just the legs on this time. So if you didn't want to use that and just wanted to keep the upper armor on, take a look at that, right? Spin a little better. Overall looking design. And now, of course, I just took the main armor off, so there's nothing on him. We have the legs on him, so if you want to set him up like that, that's what he would look like. And again, it's just a, yeah, cool look. Whether you put the tail on, the lower armor piece, both armor pieces, or just leave them like that. So there's a better look with the light through the whole body without anything on. And now, once again, moving forward with Merman's last two accessories. So he comes with this trident, which is really cool. Now, this is the same trident that came with the cartoon Merman. I don't see anything different, but if you're not familiar with it, right, just a hard piece of plastic. Pretty flexible. Mine's a little warped. It's cast in like a silverish, gray silver color. You can just see the trident ends, how everything's molded. And then for his last accessory, he gets this really cool, yeah, pirate-looking sword or something like that. Also looks like it was mutated through the use. You can see like strands of seaweed sculpted going all around it, or kelp or something like that. Cool handle, a blade. Again, really good plastic. Has some extra yellowish color on the top. It's just cast in a, yeah, dark green color. I don't think it's translucent. It doesn't look like it. And now bringing Merman in once again with all his armor back on. I just put both weapons in hand. Take a quick look at that. So yeah, obviously you have the more closed gripping hand on the right side, holding the trident. This is more of like an open claw hand or a pointing hand or something like that. You can hold the sword with it. It doesn't show that on the box art. I don't know if he's meant to. Like if you try to hold it a handle, you can't hold anything there. I kind of wish it was more of a closed hand. But if you position this just right with the sword, you can kind of hold it. So anyway, it's a, yeah, so you'll just drop it. I don't get out of the way. Use as a pointing hand or something. And then once again, I put the Serpent tail back on with a real quick switch. Pop the legs out, put that on, you're done. Right, so when I was look at Merman with the trident hand, tail on, he has his hand raised on. I guess this is also like a, yeah, spell calling upon waves or sea creatures to assist them. I guess that's kind of what it's doing. All right, check out that setup. And then with the sword again, so yeah, I'm just going to leave that at a hand. Kind of if you wanted to. I don't think it's meant to, but if you took this little, yeah, weird looking piece in the back, I tried plugging it maybe into the armor. Something like this. It's, again, I don't think it's what it's meant for, but it can hold it if you want to put it on like that. And now, of course, I just threw the sword in the right hand, raised up, like it's ready to strike. The, yeah, spell casting hand or hand calling upon the power, whatever, marine life or waves you wanted to. And I left the tail on. Take a quick look at that. Pretty cool setup. And now, once more, moving forward with some more comparisons, and we'll do some mixing and matching of parts. So I'm going to bring in the other mutated Turtles of Grayskull figures in comparison with the new Merman. So, of course, I change out his legs and remove the tail because it's more relevant to these other figures that just have legs. Anyway, so here's a quick comparison between our new Merman and the mutated Ram-Man. Take a quick look at that for, once again, size comparison. And just to see how they're going about the different translucent effects with the body aesthetics. Now, of course, Ram-Man's a whole different, or a whole new tooled figure compared to Merman. But anyway, take a look at those two together. And now I brought in a mutated He-Man against our mutated Merman with the legs on once again. Now the only difference, I mean, yeah, obviously there's a lot of differences. Of course, the colors, design, but it's in the arms. That's the point I'm trying to make. So this mutated He-Man was one of the only figures, as far as the mutant ones, that had the larger, I want to say the Andre the Giant arms from the WWE line. And Merman, once again, has a regular origin-style arms, but different hands. And then for the last mute comparison, I brought in a mutated Mossman, once again, against our mutated Merman. Now, yeah, this guy's on a whole other level. At least the way I set him up with the Venus flytrap head. I put he's holding his actual head with the hand. He has this clawed weapon. I remember reviewing him. He's really cool. yeah, again, very elaborate. I had to actually have a special figure stand to hold him up. I had to put wiring in the back because he'd fall forward. I wired this with a little piece of tie around his arm, the claw. A lot going on. Now, my other point with him, as far as shared parts, I want to say is, if you notice, yeah, it looks to me they just reused. So Merman's hands is the same hands that this mutated Mossman has. That's the only thing I can see. Aside the legs, but again, he had different changes in the lower leg, the feet, and stuff like that. And these parts, the arms and hands and the legs, also share the same parts with the Demogorgon from the Stranger Things figure as well. So now for the next round of comparisons, of course, I'm going to bring in a couple different Merman figures from the Origins and one from the Masterverse. So as you can see, this is the first release vintage inspired Origins Merman, right? And I removed the armor just to make it easier for armor swaps and whatnot. We already know what the armor looks like on him. Should be familiar with what this armor looks like on him. So for the first setup, I just put the vintage inspired Merman armor on our mutated Merman. Of course, the bone sword and the hand. It actually works better on the left hand. You can go on the right, but you got to mess around with the figures. Anyway, quick look at that. So if you want to use that armor on his figure and sword or whatnot, that's how it would fit. And now here's the same look with the mutated Merman, but yeah, of course I threw the tail back on. I wasn't gonna. I guess it makes sense to see both versions, the legs and the tail. And I'm gonna leave this lower armor skirt off as well. Kind of look like that if it was on, but you can see that the vintage inspired Merman armor kind of has a combination of you have the upper armor and then this lower piece, which sort of a mix between these two. And now, once again, jumping back over to the vintage-inspired Origins Merman, here's a look with the mutated Merman's armor, or armor sections on that figure. And of course, I put the trident in hand. Take a look at that. Wow, that armor really brings this figure up to a whole other level. Holy cow, look at that. Gorgeous. Front and the back, and he can still articulate at the waist. Doesn't affect the arms. Really looks good on him. And now, here's a look with the Serpent tail in the sword in hand on this vintage-inspired Merman. Of course, once again, with the both sections of the armor on. Take a look at that. That, too, can work really well, because there's something with the different greens, the golds on the armor. If you put the sword in hand or not, it doesn't matter. But just the tail, the gold, mixing with the gold on the armor, and yeah, maybe a little bit of the face, even though it has a purplish, it can work. It blends in well with the mixture of colors, in my opinion. Articulates good. Again, takes this simplified Origins release vintage inspired Merman, brings him up to a whole other level, makes him a whole other figure. So once again, moving forward with the next comparison. Of course, I brought in the LOP or Lord of Power Merman against our mutated Merman. As usual, I got the armor off both of them because we already know what it looks like. It's no point to waste time. And let's see what we can do with these two together. So first up, once again, here's a look at the mutated Merman, but with this time the Lord of Power armor on. Both sections are individual. That's different from the vintage inspired Merman. So there's a quick look at that setup. I just put the trident in hand because he comes with the same bone sword. We're already familiar with that. So if you like that armor on his figure with the legs, that's what it looked like. Just front and back. Pretty cool. And now once again, here's a look at the same setup, but of course I put the tail back on. I just put the sword in hand this time. Check that out. Yeah, and it fits good. Articulates well with the two different armor pieces. Blends in. And now, of course, jumping back to the Lord of Power Merman, putting all the mutated Merman armor on that body. Take a look at that setup. Again, looks incredible. Makes him a whole different looking Merman. And I put the trident in the right hand. I just kept the bone sword in the left. So take a look at that setup. Front and back. Really cool. So the other thing I want to try real quick was just putting a mutated Merman head on one of the Origins Merman figures' bodies. In this case, I'll just go with the Lord of Power. I don't want to get involved with a lot of head swaps because the head's kind of his own thing with the translucent effects. But if you're curious or what it looks like just fitting on a ball peg and an overall Merman, as far as the Origins, that's what it looked like. Doesn't look bad. You can make it work, in its own way with something with this figure's colors, and the armor hiding it and stuff like that. And now, once again, I put the Lord of Power Merman head on his body. We have the mutated Merman armor on sections. Trident in hand, and I just put the tail on. I'll take a quick look at that setup. Again, works really well. The colors can mix. And you can make a whole other Serpent-style Merman out of the Lord of Power or the vintage-inspired Merman. So lastly, as far as the Origins comparisons and mixing and matching of parts, of course I brought in a new cartoon Merman against the mutated Merman. So that's those two together. I already took the armor off again, like the other two comparisons. If you're not familiar, that's what it looks like. Now you can see that the cartoon Merman, right, is confirming it's the same exact trident, color, and everything. I think, in the light. It's just maybe just a little grayer. Nope. Nope, it's the same. All right, anyway, let's those two together. And let's see if we can mix with these two. And first up, once again, Mutated Merman. Of course, we just put the cartoon Merman armor on, so we take a look at that setup. Very simple. Let the trident in hand, because it's the same exact trident. So if you want to use that armor on him, you can, and with the legs. And now, of course, I just threw the tail back on the Mutated Merman with the cartoon armor on. Trident in hand, so you're getting. So you want to take a look at that setup. And yeah, this cartoon Merman, the way the little peg snaps onto this is, yeah, they should have made this stick out a little more. And with his overall aesthetics, it pops a lot to where the cartoon figure, it doesn't seem to do it as much. But tail came off. But anyway, just kind of making a note of that. Now, of course, moving back over to the cartoon Merman with all the Mutated Merman armor on him and trident. Well, it's his trident in hand. They're both the same. Take a look at that. It looks really cool. You know, it's this Merman's a mix for people. Some people really like him. Some people say it, you know, in the comments like, yeah, stupid. It's, I guess, because you like the cartoon or not. It's one of those things, go back to nostalgia. I like both as a kid growing up. I like the vintage-inspired toys, very nostalgic, and I like the cartoon. And I think it's neat that Origins is putting out a little bit of everything. And not to mention mixing with Turtles and, yeah, the Stranger Things and all kinds of cool stuff. So let's look at that setup. Now, he does have a hard time turning left to right because the ear's getting away these bones. You can look down and back, but it works. And, you know, if you notice, too, going back to this mutated head, take the mutated effect out of it, kind of has, I don't know, a little bit of inspiration between the cartoon, the Lord of Power, a little bit of the vintage, and its own thing, because it's mutated. That's what it looks like to me. So, yeah, I think this is a really cool design for this. But, again, while I'm at it, let's throw it on this cartoon body, see what it looks like with the armor on. And here's a quick look at that. So, yeah, we have the mutated Merman head on a cartoon body with his armor on. And it can work if you like the aesthetics with this body, where it's more simplistic from the regular Origins. I mean, not that they're not simple, but I always felt like the vintage line had more of a serious look in the toys compared to the animation. You know, and that was on purpose by design, so the animators can draw easier and what the toys can do at the time. But it can work. It's just something with the colors. You know, you start mixing armors around this and what the head wants to do with a merman or mutated figure. It looks good. It's not bad. So once again, I put the cartoon Merman head on his body. We have the mutated Merman armor on. And I just put the tail on. Take a look at that setup. Yeah, and of course the sword in hand, something different. And lastly, so here's a comparison against the Revelation 2.0 Merman, the newer one, where he doesn't have the battle damaged body and eyes and whatnot. To give him a different armor, the sword, stuff like that. And this staff actually came off the first release. Against our mutated Merman without any armor on, right? We all know the deal now. There's going to be a problem here as far as trying to put parts on a Masterverse. Because you can't break them at the body. Trying to put this piece on. So, all right, before I jump ahead, let's move all this out of the way. Let's focus on the Masterverse figure first. All right, so it could probably work, but you'd have to remove this loincloth and seaweed belt. That's a process if you're not familiar with it. It's kind of risky if you haven't done it before. You could use you usually put the lower body in hot boiling water for a while, and then you got to pry this away from the waist. You know, the lazy way, which I done, is I make a cut with a razor knife, but then you'll have a line in here. You go like back here, you make a quick cut, and you can pull this whole thing right off the body, and then you'll see how far that belt goes in around a little. There's like a cam ring inside there. So yeah, these figures do not come apart at the waist. I actually broke one apart one time. See how they were set up, and they do not. And then to also remove these loincloth pieces, you have to remove the legs as well. You heat that up and put them in hot water, these thigh splits. You'll pop them apart, and this will come off easy when and if you can get around the waist without breaking it. I tried it a couple times. One was successful, one I broke. I had another figure, as I said, I made a cut. That was easier, and if I put a belt or a different one back on from Masterverse, I just make a little glue seam, and that's how you would do it. I don't recommend that. Anyway, that's the only way by removing this you'd be able to, and removing these die cuts, is get this piece up the body and the legs. And it looked like it would be able to stretch and fit over the waist. So that's my first point. Show that. Okay, so we can't do anything with that on camera. And then going back to the armor, that would probably fit him, but we have another problem again. It has to go up, split the figure in half, and go up over the waist to get this on the lock. Now, you could, for customizers, you can make a cut back here put this over the head. So I'm gonna try that first. Put it over the head just to give an idea what it looks like. So yeah, we'll fit. Look pretty cool. Look at that. All right, we're not gonna be able to get this around the waist without making a cut. And put it in back of them, and that's a shame because that would look pretty cool. I don't know why they didn't make these Masterverse figures come apart like the Origins. At least at the waist and arms, they have so much customizing potential. You know, that's all you would have to do, but they didn't set them up that way. Anyway, so let's just make believe that, yeah, I got this piece around the back. We got this on the Masterverse Merman. You know, it's not the greatest example. And he kind of looked like that, and I think it would look pretty cool if you were wanted, you know, go through all that stuff, customizing. And now, of course, we have the upper piece of armor just hanging on there. Next question is, will the head fit on the Masterverse, you know, body? I wasn't going to try that, but I'll get people in comments saying, what does it look like? Does it work? Yes, it fits on a ball peg. And again, because of just something with the mutated head, kind of translucent with different colors, depending on the colors on a particular merman, you could make it work. This one it works really well because of his darkish blue tone with the head and the highlights. Articulates well, and yeah, fits well. You know, when again, if you can modify this armor, as I mentioned, or you want to put his on, that's what it looked like. And now, of course, I just put the 2.0 armor back on this merman. I left the mutated head on, so if you wanted to use the head on this body with the regular setup, not getting it customizing and cutting things and all that good stuff, which some people do, many people don't. That's what it looked like. And it could work. Again, the colors blend in well. Looks cool with this armor on. Gives this a different look. And yeah, obviously we can't try to tail on him. It's not going to work. Maybe if you're a customizer and you're really getting major custom work and you want to break this in half and drill a hole up into the body somehow and plug this tail and hide it and all that good stuff, it is possible. But without breaking the body in half normally for most people, no, the tail's not going to work. And then, of course, jumping back over to the mutated merman with the head and body and all that stuff put back together. We have the legs on. I just threw that 2.0 merman armor on. So take a quick look at that setup. Looks pretty cool. But yeah, that's really limited with the articulation, obviously. Let's see. You can go look down, up, spin left to right. Not much. It gets hindered by everything. But it does look cool on him. Again, gives him a different look. And now, of course, with the same setup, I just put the tail on this time. We have the Masterverse Merman armor on. I did put this lower skirt piece. You kind of, I think you kind of need it. I mean, I think it looks better, hides everything. This only comes down to the bottom. It doesn't have that extra piece like the other two, the Lord of Power and the regular Merman has. Anyways, look at that setup. Looks pretty cool. And all the different colors can blend in. It works well, I think, for this Merman, especially that is mutated. And then the last thing I wanted to try, for anybody that's curious or might ask in the comments, is just put the Masterverse Merman head on this body. It's going to leave the tail on, the whole setup, his armor, all that good stuff. The whole point is, does a Masterverse head, or how does it look like on this, this body? It's fine. Articulates fine. Yeah, you can make it work, I guess, with the different colors and mutation. But yeah, this head's definitely better. I think this head looks better on the Masterverse figure than this head on this body, in my opinion, but everybody has their own taste in doing things. Okay, so that's enough of mixing and matching parts and comparisons. That was a lot, which is a good thing, because there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with this figure as far as parts and the tail with the other Origins Merman figures. But I gotta say, another home run for this mutated Merman. You get a lot of cool stuff. It's neat that they include the legs. Reused parts, the whiplash legs and stuff like that, but who cares? It looks cool. I like the idea it has the buzz-off clawful whiplash feet for this particular merman with the lower legs. And the translucent color is its own thing. That bluish green color makes sense. I love that head sculpt. That's one of the coolest head sculpts I've seen yet, as far as the box figures. And they're just getting better and better. The armor's neat, and you can see what works well on, which you put it on each one of the Origins figures, whether it's a cartoon, Lord of Power, vintage, just sort of creates a whole new figure in its own way, especially when you put the tail on. It's also really cool that they added that tail. Even though it's the lady slither tail, still, it works. And it can work for a lot of future figures coming out. They do it right. And they even added the fishtail on the back. Give him a trident, which the other merman already has. But it makes sense for him. Like they give him a new sword. The only thing, I guess, would have been cool if the armor somehow split and buckled, both the upper and lower. Now, that's not necessary for swapping parts with Origins, as I showed, because they break in half. And that was the intention, so to be fair, I get that. But again, if you want to put this on Classics or Masterverse Merman, and there is another Masterverse Merman coming out, by the way, which is going to be interesting, without cutting and modifying it, you can't really do it. So kind of a bummer on that because a lot of people, I think it looks good on the Masterverse figures from what I can see if it's on. But anyway, it's designed for Origins, and I think it came out great. I love it. I appreciate everybody watching. Until next time, take care.